What's up everybody? Welcome back to another Q&A session here on my YouTube channel. First off, how do you get your question answered by me on one of these Q&A videos or on my weekly Wednesday vlogs? It's easy. Make sure you guys are following me on social media at SwimMiller on Twitter with 1M and at Cody Miller on Instagram. When I post a picture specifically asking for Q&A questions, send them on in there, but you guys can ask me questions anytime and maybe I'll get to them. I'm trying to do more of these Q&A videos for you guys, so let's get started. My cap tan is coming in nicely, huh? Swimming outside just a little bit, look at that. All right, and our first question today comes to us from Joey DeCheck, who asks, do you warm up in your tech suit before a meet? Yeah, I do, but I do my first initial meet warm-up in a brief, and then I get out of the pool, and then about 35-ish minutes before my race, I put my racing suit on, and then I hop in the warm-up pool again, do another 200 or 300 yards of kind of feeling it out with the suit on. So yeah, I do hop in again with the suit before my race. I do the 2 warm-up routine. Sometimes in prelims, I just do 1 warm-up and then put my suit on and then race like 15 minutes later. But in finals, every single time, I do 2 warm-ups. So I do hop in with the racing suit on. Arnav_63 asks, how much time before a race do you recommend wearing a tech suit? I mean, like, you know, I wouldn't say any more than an hour. I put my suit on about 30, like I just said, about 30 minutes before my race and you're good to go. Arnav_63 asks, again, how do you prepare for back-to-back races? Good question. I don't do a whole lot of back-to-back races anymore. Typically, I only have 1 event a day now, the pro life. But when I swam in college, you know, I had 4 to 5, 6 sometimes events a day, especially at NCAAs. So I would look at it like this. You always warm up for your first event. So if you have like a 200 free and then a 100 butterfly, you warm up for the 200 free. And then after the 200 free, whether you're warming down or you're re-warming up for your next race, that's when you do a little bit of butterfly to get ready for that next race. But you prepare for your first race. I actually asked Michael Phelps that same question years and years ago when I was like, dude, you have 3 events tonight. How do you prepare for all 3 events? And he straight up told me, he's like, I warm up for my first event, and once that's taken care of, then I move forward. The only oddball thing is if you're doing 2 events, and your first 2 events are freestyle and backstroke, and your 3rd event is breaststroke, you want to make sure you really warm up the groin and make sure you really warm up your breaststroke legs and knees before that 3rd breaststroke race. But other than that, it's just prepare for your first race and then, you know, you compartmentalize 1 at a time. So your first race, your second race, your 3rd race. Anyway, that's kind of how I see it. None of Ya Business 13 asks, what do you do when you feel fatigued at a meet? Good question. You know, a lot of times we go into swim meets and we're kind of tired and we don't feel our best and it's a little bit daunting. But the honest answer that I can give you, the thing that I do and the thing that the best athletes, the best swimmers in the world do, is that they completely ignore feeling, right? Like, feeling is overrated, 100% overrated. You can swim well when you don't feel well, and that is a fact. I've seen it happen. The number 1 example I always go to is Phelps. You know, in Beijing in 2008, when he won all those 8 gold medals, he had 23 races in the span of a week, you know, and at some points he had 5 or 6 races a day. And I asked him, I was like, did you feel good during all those races? And he looked at me and kind of laughed and said, no. You know, there were points at the time behind the block at the Olympics when he didn't feel 100%, when he didn't feel his best. But at that point in time, you're too invested and you're too prepared and you're too motivated by wanting to be successful that a little bit of feeling a little off, you're not going to let that affect you, right? Like when Michael stood up behind the blocks before the 200 fly after the 200 IM final, you know, 15 minutes later, he didn't feel 100%, but that didn't matter, right? Like he didn't let that affect him. And so I think there's a certain point in time when at a meet, feeling becomes unimportant, right? So you don't have to feel well to do your absolute best. One other quick example, you know, when I was at Olympic trials trying to qualify for the Olympics, I remember the night of semifinals, I felt amazing. Like I won the semifinal heat number 1. I was seeded first after that heat, and I won a lifetime best time, and I felt amazing. And then the next night, the night of finals, for the race that was going to qualify me for the Olympics, I felt a little off. I didn't feel 100%. I didn't feel the best I'd ever felt. I didn't feel as good as I felt the night before. And for a split second there, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But as I was warming up, as I was swimming, I kind of told myself, and I thought back to what Michael Phelps had told me years ago, it's that when you get to a certain point and when you want something enough, feeling doesn't matter. And that really resonated with me. And I told myself at Olympic trials in Omaha, in the warm-up pool, I was like, the fact that I don't feel my absolute best right now is okay. It doesn't matter. Because I had felt like I'd prepared myself to do the best race I could do regardless of feeling, right? Because my preparation was so solid. I had such a good foundation behind me. So, I hear a lot of times coaches say feeling is overrated, but I believe it's true, right? And so you just kind of have to buy into that mentality. Sorry for that long-winded explanation, but when you don't feel your absolute best, you have to ignore it, right? Don't put too much weight and too much stock into how you feel on a regular basis, because the mind is more powerful than you think. Aquaman Xavier _ asks, what do you think about guys slapping themselves on the blocks before a 50 free? Yeah, that's true. A lot of times, especially at really big meets, you see guys just smacking their chests and beating themselves up. So much so that like a lot of times I'll literally see handprints on people's bodies before races, like really, really bad. Even like I've swam the 50 breaststroke, the 50 meter breaststroke at World Championship meets, and guys are just hitting themselves and smack themselves. And I do it a little bit. Like I smack my legs, I kind of beat my chest a little bit, but I think people sometimes overdo it. There's definitely some scientific evidence behind like why slapping yourself is good. It wakes up your central nervous system. It lets your body know on like a cellular level that the fight or flight response is activated, right? Like you're about to explode. It's kind of like warming yourself up in a way. Even mentally, even subtly on levels that you don't really even realize. So what do I think about it? I think some people really overdo it. I think when there are like slap marks on people's bodies, it's like, it's overdone. But you'll see me behind the blocks, like I'll be hitting my legs, I'll be pounding my legs. So my thoughts on it, some people overdo it. Sometimes when I see handprints, I kind of laugh a little bit. Daniel B3015 asks, how are you supposed to handle helicopter parents as a coach? Man, good question. I'm not a coach, I'm not a professional, I'm just a swimmer, but if I will say, if I was a coach, if I was a club coach and I had to deal with parents, I would set ground rules and I would be really strict about it. I've known club coaches who do not let parents on deck during practices. That would be me. I would literally set ground rules and say, hey, you can be involved in swimming, but like when it comes to 3 to 5, when I'm coaching your kid, like you're not allowed to be around. Like you're not an assistant coach, you're a parent, right? And I think it's a good thing that like parents want to be involved and they want to know what's going on. But at some point in time, there needs to be an understanding that coach knows best and they need to trust that person. And I think that yields the best results. Every case is different, right? Like there's no right or wrong answer for this very broad question of like dealing with helicopter parents, but I've witnessed some serious helicopter parents, and most of the time I think it's a little bit more detrimental than productive in my opinion. As a coach dealing with that, I'd be really firm about it. I wouldn't permit it. I wouldn't allow it. Not on my deck. Savard Algren, I think that's how you say your name, asks, do you keep a swim journal that documents all your races and what you learned? Sort of. I do keep a journal. I keep a notebook in my car, and I log my workouts. I log all of my workouts. I log the volume, I log the type of workout we did, I log the sets. A lot of times it's like a highlight reel where I like write down the highlights of each practice, things I did better, things I could have done better. And for me, it's worked really well as a tool to give myself motivation and confidence, so that later on in the season, as taper time comes around, you can look back at all the work that you've put in and see, man, I was going this fast then, I was doing this, and this. It's like reinforcing the truthful notion that you've been making progress, that you've been doing things that are making you better. And so yeah, I do keep a journal. I log a lot of those things. I do log swim meets, like I'll write down my splits, my times, and I kind of track things as the season progresses. I'm a numbers guy. I'm an analytics guy. Analytics guy. Like I like to have data. I like to have an idea of where I'm at. I like to know things. But that's not to be. It doesn't mean that everyone's like that, right? Like take my buddy Blake Peroni, for example, who is, you know, one of the fastest swimmers in the world. I don't think he logs anything. I don't think he records anything. He just trusts that the plan and the program that his coach is giving him is working, and he just works hard all the time, and that's good enough for him. So, you know, I think it can be a good thing. I think keeping a journal and logging things is a good thing if you're that type of person, if you need that. Especially for someone who like needs to know what they're doing to understand, or someone who needs it to build. I think it's good for building confidence. I could talk about that for a long time. All right, and I think that's gonna be a wrap on today's Q&A video. I hope you guys got your questions answered. I'm gonna keep doing more Q&A videos like this. Let me know in the comment section below if you like that I've been doing them like Tuesday, Thursday, Friday like I did last week, or if you think I should do longer Q&A videos, shorter Q&A videos. I'm open to suggestions. I wanna hear from you guys, the people that watch my videos regularly. Yeah, so as always, subscribe to this channel, share my videos, click the notification button so you get notified every time I post a new video. Make sure you guys are following me on social media, at SwimMiller on Twitter and at Cody Miller on Instagram. And until the next video, I will see you guys later.